everybody, welcome back to Tattoo Talk Tuesday. If this is your first time joining us, Tattoo Talk Tuesday is our weekly interactive Q&A where we, as tattoo collectors, try to answer your questions. So this week I have Hannah on the channel. You might be familiar with her Instagram, Hannah Overboard. I told you guys a little bit about her last week and I think there was some positive responses, so she's on the channel today. But if you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself if they're unfamiliar with you.
My name is Hannah. I'm 19 years old. I currently live in southern Pennsylvania and I collect tattoos. I also collect records. I currently have 22 tattoos and 5 of them are anime related.
Well, with that, I think there has been a ton of questions on this channel all about our favorite fandoms, fandom tattoos, why we get them, and I thought it would be really cool to have Hannah on the channel to explain her fandom tattoos. I think that they are something that is beloved about you, but I think they also have a lot of questions attached to them. So I think it would be really cool today to talk about some of these questions and some of the things that come with having tattoos that are representative of your fandom. So we put together some questions and some of them are directly from you. Some of them are questions I had for Hannah, and then some of them are questions we kind of came up with on our own just to kind of talk about it and get it out there. So how would you explain a fandom to someone who is watching this maybe for the first time?
The way I think of a fandom is kind of like a cult following of like a show, a book, anything that really can collect fans. A fandom is really a community where people can come together and talk about something they're really passionate about and something they love. So a big part of fandoms is definitely like forums, and I think the internet has really increased fandoms a lot.
So I think that's a really great way to explain fandom. I think that that's more in depth than my own idea of it, which is kind of just like, yeah, like being obsessed with something to the point where it's like a cult following. I think that a lot of the skepticism, because I think we got a lot of skeptical type questions. I think a lot of the skepticism comes with commitment to these tattoos, but I also think the people who have them love them. So we're gonna dive in to some of these questions, and I think the number one question that we got is, are you worried about growing out of your fandoms? So the tattoos that you have, that you love, you're dedicated to them, do you think that there's going to be a day where you experience regret?
The way I look at my tattoos is kind of like a timeline of my life. So the way I think of it is that if something is this important to me right now to be tattooed on my body, it's something that has had a very significant impact on my life. At the end of my tattoo journey, eventually when I'm a fully grown adult and have no more space left on my body, my ideal is that I want my body to be kind of like a timeline journal of my life. And so I feel like even if it's something that I eventually do grow out of, and if I'm not actively watching Naruto anymore, for example, I'll still have my Naruto tattoo, but it had such a profound impact on my life that even if it's something that I'm no longer interested in, it'll always be something that means so much to me that it'll be a part of my life that's on my body.
What do you think, I guess I should have asked this first, what do you think are like the most, I guess, what are the fandoms that you have like tattooed on you represented that way?
I have 1 Naruto tattoo, 2 Pokemon tattoos, and 2 Studio Ghibli tattoos.
I think that a lot of my fandom tattoos are related to music too. Like I think music is definitely like a fandom too.
Oh, definitely. Looking at it in that aspect, I also have a Balance and Composure tattoo, I have a Tiger's Jaw tattoo, I have a Brand New tattoo, and I also have a tattoo of Light's signature on my arm.
I think for me, you guys might know, I have a ton of Joanna Newsom tattoos. I think at like one point, I was only getting Joanna Newsom affiliated tattoos. If you don't know her, she is a composer, and if you don't know her, check her out. I guess that'll feel pretty good. So although like that might not be considered like a fandom up front, I think that it is an obsession that I have. There's no way around that. So I don't know. And then I have, I guess like, I have a Me Without You tattoo, and I also have a Charles Bukowski tattoo, and I'm sure as I keep thinking about it, I'll think of one more. Do you think, like, with your fandom tattoos, do you think it's easier to be approached by people who are also in the fandom about your tattoos? Or do you still have reservations about being approached in general, or is it something that you're more open to on, like, maybe your cat bust tattoo, like, you're willing to be approached about that maybe versus your other tattoos, or is it just, like, something you're into?
Well, it's definitely easier to explain a fandom tattoo to someone who is in that fandom, obviously.
Yeah.
The bigger the fandom is, the more people are going to be more accepting of that tattoo, I think. Such as, I know a lot of people who have Harry Potter tattoos, and
Yes.
since Harry Potter is such a big fandom, nobody says, like, oh, you're going to regret that. Whereas I have so many people who tell me that I'm going to regret my lights tattoo. I think the more niche your fandom is, the more people are going to tell you you're going to regret it. But I guess I just don't really see it that way. I'm definitely open to answering questions from anyone who wants to know about my tattoos or the fandoms that I suppose I'm in. It's a little bit more daunting when somebody doesn't know anything about that fandom, because then they definitely question more as to why you got it tattooed on your body if they don't understand the passion that you really have towards it.
Do you ever run into somebody who has the same fandom tattoo as you, or do you approach them? Do they approach you?
Oh, definitely. I met somebody in a gas station who had a Naruto tattoo.
Yes.
I got so excited. I was like, I have a tattoo of the Qcknd cloud. I was like, I love your Naruto tattoo. He was even wearing like a Naruto shirt of the Qcknd cloud. He had a Naruto portrait on his arm. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, so that was a really cool like bonding moment in a Wawa in the middle of the night in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So you don't really expect those kind of moments, but I think they're like a lot more special than you realize in the moment.
That's really true. I think if my like Joanna tattoos weren't so obscure, maybe. I think my Charles Bukowski tattoo is pretty specific to the fandom. So if I saw somebody like that, I don't know, I feel like I might be scared to be like, ahem. But I'm not sure. I think like if I get like my Sonic the Hedgehog tattoo, I think I'll definitely be super like open to talking about that. But I feel like, are you someone who is more able to be approached like as a tattooed person though?
I love honestly being approached as a tattooed person. I really don't mind answering questions about tattoos or body modifications in general. If somebody doesn't have any body modifications, I'm totally fine with them asking me questions, because it'll get them more familiar with the subject and perhaps make them more comfortable with modified people. And obviously a lot of people are afraid of what they don't know, and so I feel like if they know more about the subject, if they know more about tattoos and body modifications, they'll be more open to it in the future.
And earlier we were talking about like killing someone with kindness and just being super nice and super open about it. So I guess it definitely helps. Like I think I would. What is he eating?
It's like a piece of paper.
I think the Harry Potter comparison was really good. I think that's totally true.
I have a lot of little kids also who come up to me and they're like, that's a Vulpix on your arm. I'm not sure if you can see it because we're kind of far away, but I have a Vulpix right here. And a lot of little kids have come up to me and said like, you have a Pokemon tattoo. And I love talking with kids about my Pokemon tattoos. I also have a Mew on my ankle, so I'll always show them that. And sometimes kids will come into where I work with Pokemon plushes or something. And I love to approach them and be like, I love your Vaporeon. Like, do you play Pokemon Go? Are you excited for Sun and Moon? So I feel like it's just a really good segue into talking to people no matter what their age are. Like, I'll always want to talk to people who have the same interests as I do.
I got this question a lot in a lot of different forms, so I kind of just paraphrased it to kind of answer everything. And this is a question that I feel like we'll answer with hesitance because there isn't much of an answer. But if an actor from your favorite fandom came out and said something that was in bad taste, would you feel regret about your tattoo? So I guess in that sense, like if you had, like if Joanna Newsom for some reason said something offensive, would you ever experience some sort of regret if something like that happened to you?
It would definitely be a bridge that I would have to cross if I came to it. It would definitely depend on what they said and if it was something really terrible or if it was something that could be taken into interpretation, if they issued an apology. So I feel like there's a lot of elements that go into that thought process, and it would definitely have to be something that would go on a case-by-case basis, I believe. I feel like it would be a different scenario if somebody said something rude, rescinded it with an apology, said they knew they were wrong, or it would be a very different scenario if like an artist went and sexually harassed a woman or hit someone or something like that. I feel like those are two very different situations. So it would just really depend on what they did and how they handled it.
I think it's also really difficult right now. I think right now is a time where receipts are available on everybody, and I think different people have different problems and ideas of different things. Like, there's definitely things I don't know about my favorite celebrities, and I think now is a time where we're hoping that people are perfect people and that they are omnipotent beings and they are capable of only good. So I think either there's a place for forgiveness in there, or just if you have a certain feeling and if something, you are given a feeling about something, if it was your favorite song or your favorite author or your favorite show, I think that it doesn't invalidate that feeling that you have. And I was telling Hannah earlier, like, when I first got into Charles Bukowski, like, I really loved him, and I loved him only for his writing. And his writing does have like an autobiographical sense, although it's written usually by a perspective of like a fictional character. So I really enjoyed that. But then, you know, you find out about the author and you find out that they have done problematic things. And then you're like, oh no, what about the feelings I had before? Like, are those invalid? And I think that's just something that comes with, I guess, a fandom tattoo. I think, like, I've always been somebody who, like, if I liked a band, I would listen to their music, and I like, didn't know the lead singer's name, and people would be like, you don't even like that band if you don't know. But I think that, like, all of that just comes from, like, your own personal interpretation of it, and I think that it's a really gray question that neither of us could really come up with, like, a concrete answer, because I don't know what I would do. Like, I don't know, I haven't thought about getting my, like, Charles Bukowski tattooed removed. I just know that it's a part of it, but it's not something I think about every single day or once a week or almost ever. So I guess, like, cross that bridge when you come to it, like you said, but
I feel like you have to have a margin of forgiveness for people as well, because we are human, and everybody, including celebrities and including people we idolize and look up to, those people do make mistakes. They do put their foot in their mouth, and as long as they handle it the correct way, I believe that, like, there is a margin of forgiveness for everyone.
I totally agree. And yeah, it doesn't invalidate, like, what you loved about that person to begin with. So, which I think kind of leads us into our next question, which I think is really good. And it's, how long should you be a fan before you get the tattoo? And I really like your answer.
So my answer to this was more about my Naruto tattoo. So I started watching Naruto actually less than a year ago. Last January, I had left school. I had just moved in with my boyfriend's parents. I didn't have a job, and it was just a really dark place in my life. I had a lot of free time on my hands, and my boyfriend was a huge, huge Naruto fan. And he said, you should start watching this. Like, it will really, like, take up your time, give you something to do. And in the short amount of time that I spent binge watching the entire show, it had such a profound impact on my life that it's even hard for me to put it into words. Like, the amount that I related with the characters, so many of their personalities and their struggles and what a lot of them went through, it just really struck a chord with me, and I knew it was something that was going to really affect my life in a positive way and just give me an outlet that I could relate to and people that I could talk to about something I was passionate about. So after I'd finished his show, I knew I definitely wanted at least one Naruto tattoo to kind of commemorate that it had definitely kind of pulled me out of this dark place in my life and given me a sense of community to talk to other people who were really into the show, and it had affected them in the same way it affected me.
I think that's super cool, and I don't think that there has to be a timeline, and everyone gets tattooed for different reasons, and everyone kind of has their own method to be tattooed. And I think a lot of people believe, like, you have to love something for 300 days and then you're qualified for the tattoo, and I don't think that's true. I think you can fall in love with something immediately. You can fall in love with a design immediately. And I think, like, you knew you were impacted by Naruto, and you knew that, like, you wanted to represent that, and I think that that's cool. And I think only somebody would come out of it. Like, I think people would be like, that's not long enough, but who gets to dictate that? Like, I don't think that anyone really can. So I think that I don't think you have to wait. Like, I don't know. Sure, maybe like a week might help.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't watch the first episode and immediately like, oh yeah, man, I love this show so much. I want to get Naruto's face tattooed on my face. Like, that wasn't my thought process. Like I said, I have the Akatsuki cloud, which you can kind of see here. And I do want a portrait of Itachi as well, somewhere on my leg. But the Akatsuki cloud is just kind of like my small homage to Naruto that I have right now, especially because Itachi is my favorite character and his personality on the show. His character really just stuck with me, and I really just loved everything that he stood for as a person and as a character in the show, and I loved all of his actions, and I think he was such an admirable character that this is kind of like my homage to the show and to Itachi before I actually have his face tattooed on me.
The little trial tattoo, the dabble into the fandom. Oh, are you planning on any new fandom tattoos?
I definitely want more Pokemon tattoos. I want a Master Ball, just because I think it looks cool. It's pink and purple, it's girly and fun, and I love it. And my boyfriend and I are also hoping to get Umbreon and Espeon tattoos. Our tattoo artist painted this really beautiful painting for us. That was an Umbreon and Espeon. The Umbreon had like a pink collar and a pink glow behind it, and the Espeon had a black moon behind it. So they really correspond with each other, and Espeon is one of my favorite Pokemon. So I'm really hoping we can make that happen soon. Other than that, there's a couple other tattoos that I do want, like especially having to do with different bands and different artists. I want another Lights tattoo, and I want a Citizen tattoo. Repping my Citizen shirt right now.
So good.
So there's definitely like a couple more Fandom tattoos that I think will end up on my body.
I think for me, like, someone did ask me, like, are you gonna get a Stranger Things tattoo? And I think it would be so appropriate. I'm a little worried about like season 2 coming out because I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'll like that. But then, like I said previously, like that doesn't matter. It doesn't like unvalidate how I felt about it. So I was thinking about getting an 11 tattoo. But other than that, like I do plan on getting like a Sonic the Hedgehog tattoo. Like I'm totally game for that. I'm just kind of like looking for an artist and then like looking at myself naked and figuring out where it will belong, because I feel like sometimes with those sillier tattoos you kind of like have to put them somewhere more strategic. And by silly I kind of just mean like I don't know what he's gonna be doing. I picture him like running, so I'm like, all right,
gotta go fast.
Where can he go? And then so my back is based off of the folklore behind Ys or YS, Joanna Newsom's like 3rd album. So once like the top of my back kind of corresponds with that, I think when I'm adding to the bottom of my back closer to like my butt, I'm definitely gonna go into her albums and really try to pick up more of the imagery that she conveyed, and it's definitely just like all based on her. So hopefully she doesn't say anything weird in the newspaper. I don't know. Why would I be reading the newspaper? Do you feel like getting an abstract design representing your fandom is better than getting the actual thing?
I think this is another question that's definitely asked from people who believe that you will regret your fandom tattoo, thinking that maybe like, oh, if it's more artsy and more abstract, if you stop liking it, it will be more valid. And I don't really agree with this. If I'm gonna get something, I'd rather just get the imagery, exactly how the original artist had it drawn. We took my Vulpix originally straight from one of the Pokemon cards, so it wasn't just like drawn up just based on the Vulpix my artist was thinking of. I've seen some like stylized abstract Studio Ghibli art before, and if that's your thing, like that's totally cool. It's just definitely not up my alley. I'd rather have the original art like as the artist intended it to be, and that just recognizable image that people will see it and be like, oh hey, that's a cat bus, that's a Pokemon, instead of having like a differently drawn version of it that makes it a little bit harder to interpret.
I think I definitely agree with you. I think that's how I feel, and I think like if I were to get fandom, like more specific fandom tattoos, I think that's what I would lean towards. I think, you know, a lot of the fandoms right now that I view, I think are super iconic. Like you see the King of the Hill tattoos and Hello Kitty, and you want to be able to see them and view them, and I think share your fandom, and it's why you got them. My more abstract tattoos are kind of just what fit my body best. I had some band tattoos, and because I had some text tattoos that I really wasn't happy with, just because the text I had, I felt like people were reading it and coming up to me, and I felt uncomfortable about that. But that's just like my own feeling of being uncomfortable all the time. So I think I strayed more from like lyric-based tattoos and got more imagery-based ones. But I think because of that, like it lacks that like interaction that I would want from being a part of the fandom. Like I have a yellow spider, yellow leaf tattoo, and I feel like if I were to go to a Me Without You show, people probably wouldn't pick up on it right away. But at the same time, I want to be like, I'm a big fan. So I don't know. I feel like you said, because it isn't like super direct, it might not represent it as well. So if I was going to get more direct ones, I feel like they would have that better response. But I think it does have a lot to do with like people being afraid of regretting the tattoo. And I think that's like the airiness of a lot of the questions we got. I think a lot of people feel hesitant about getting tattooed in general though. I think if you know that like you're going to be tattooed and that you plan on being like a fully tattooed person, or you know like I want my whole arm done, my whole leg done, my whole stomach, I think it's a lot easier to fit in these little tattoos exactly how they are. But I think people who are interested in getting fandom tattoos who have no other tattoos, I think that it's more of a thought process that they should consider. Like I said earlier, like John has like one tattoo. So if he was going to get a fandom tattoo, if he was going to get a Pokemon tattoo, and that's his only tattoo, I think it held a lot more weight than if I were to get one, which would, it could be blended with all my other tattoos. Obviously people could single it out because they're familiar with seeing it. But I think that that regret and that thought process wouldn't be as held as heavy for me. What do you think?
I definitely agree with that. As someone who has a lot of tattoos, I definitely have like a lot of like really small ones that I probably wouldn't have gotten if I only had one tattoo. There's definitely a lot more room for getting like so-called like silly tattoos if you have a lot of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I think that, yeah, like a lot of the questions I think that we read may have come from people who are interested in getting their very first tattoo, and it's a fandom tattoo. And I think that's really great because like we said throughout this video, like if that's where your heart is and that's who your friends are and that's like the niche group that you want to be in, I think that that's super cool. But yeah, consider it, obviously, but it just might not be our opinion because regret doesn't really play into too much of our goals. I think both of us want to be completely tattooed, so having that little tattoo might be different for us.
My very first tattoo was a fandom tattoo. I had, on my 18th birthday, I got a dagger on my arm that says "Fight Off Your Demons," obviously a Brand New reference if you're familiar with Brand New. But I did also get my second tattoo 2 days later, and it was also another pretty big one. So I definitely knew I wanted to be heavily tattooed from the get, which definitely like affected my decision and made it not so much of a weight of what I was gonna get for my first tattoo, just like, all right, I want to start. I know what I want. Like, all right, we can just start checking them off.
How do you feel about getting the exact tattoo that a celebrity has to represent your fandom?
I definitely think there's better choices of tattoos to get if you want to represent a celebrity or someone you admire. I'm a huge fan of Light's. Obviously, I have her signature tattooed on me, but I've seen a lot of people get her exact tattoos before. She has a tattoo on her finger from the day that her and Qcknd got married that's like a bunch of little symbols, and I've seen a lot of people with that. She has another tattoo on one of her fingers that says "Found in Love," and the amount of times I've seen that tattoo on the same finger in the same font is kind of ridiculous, and people are like, oh, this is my Lights tattoo. But I think that as a fan, there's a lot more things you could do to like pay homage to that person or that group rather than just get their exact tattoo.
I totally agree. I think when I was growing up, Britney Spears had that really iconic, it was like a little, I'll pull up an image of it. It's like a little fairy and the wings are a bee for Britney.
Oh, I've definitely seen that.
And I remember everybody getting that tattoo, and I wasn't sure if it was like, oh, my favorite celebrity has tattoos, and that's my only understanding of tattoos. This is my first time dabbling. I mean, when Britney Spears was popular, how many celebrities were tattooed at that time? Not so many. So maybe people are coming in and they're turning 18, they can get tattooed, they're viewing lights, and they're like, this is my impression of tattoos. But I think a lot of that, I think with more research and more understanding of tattoos, people would want something more representative of them, something more clever about the fandom and more representative of the music. I think a lot of these copy tattoos just come from people wanting to idolize their celebrity and not representative of being tattooed as a part of the fandom, but more along the lines of wanting to be that person.
Definitely. And I think a tattoo also means a lot more. If like you take a lyric from your favorite band that means a lot to you, then it kind of mixes that artist and also what you're feeling about them and puts them together, as opposed to just like taking something like, I love this artist, I'm gonna get their tattoo. That's more just something of them. If you take a lyric that you love and you get that tattooed along with some imagery, I feel like that really combines like your feelings towards the artist and the artist's work themselves into a more like unique tattoo that's made specifically for you and things that you love and are passionate about.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. And I think both of those things show different things. Like, do you love the music or do you love the person? So I think, you know, if you get the lyrics tattoo and if you get the imagery of the music that you love, the album art, that means something a little more different than getting the exact same tattoo that the celebrity has, because that's wanting to look like them and idolizing them. But I think both of us are people who have had our tattoos ripped off and stolen, and we've actually seen them on different people in real life. So I don't think I would ever be comfortable taking somebody's tattoo and getting it for my own, because I know how it feels and it's shitty.
Definitely not. Celebrity or not, I still think it sucks to have your tattoo ripped off.
Yeah, totally.
For anyone.
Finally, to conclude this episode, what are your favorite fandoms?
Pokemon, Studio Ghibli, Lights, Naruto, all the things I have tattoos of. I'm trying to think if there's any other fandoms that I would consider myself to be in. I'm not really sure if this would consider as a fandom or as like an interest, but I definitely want a tattoo that represents my love of vinyl and records, and it's not really so a fandom because it's such a wide thing, but it really is a community and it's something that's a huge part of my life. So I'd love to get a tattoo that would like kind of pay homage to that and how much of an effect it's had on my life and all the people I've met through collecting records.
I think that's super cool. I think, you know, I'll see comments sometimes that are like, are you gonna get a YouTube tattoo? Are you gonna get a Qcknd tattoo? And I always thought like, I was like, that's so egotistical to get such a thing, but it's true. I think it's something that is a huge part of my life, and I think it is a fandom I'm into. I think I go outside of my house and I'm like, oh, no one else knows about YouTube, and then I come back home on the computer and it's like, yeah, it's popping. Who uploaded today? So I think, I don't know, I think in the future I might think about getting a little YouTube tattoo, but I'm not sure. Other than that, I don't know. I think that's a fandom that I belong in. I don't know if it's true. I watch all the YouTubers and I'm at home like, everyone else is watching TV. I think, what fandoms do I belong to? Sonic, my father. I think I'm definitely in there with Studio Ghibli. That's my shit. I feel like I'm in a lot of like private anime fandoms. School Days was one of my favorite animes ever. And although people are like, what the fuck was that anime? I kind of just want like a nice boat tattoo. I don't know. And then all the music I love. It's complicated, but there's definitely a long list of things I just geek the fuck out about. I don't know. Complicated. But thank you guys for watching this today. The video's a little long, but I think you're into it. I think this was really cool. Give this video a thumbs up if you like interview style videos. Who would you want to see on the channel? What questions do you have? Thank you so much, Hannah, for being on here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm actually a longtime Qcknd fan, so I'm very excited to be here.
I'm crying. Check her out on Instagram. I'll leave all those links down below. And until next time, guys. Bye.